All right, so today I'm going to show some basics using Go to create a HTTP server, to return some responses, how to handle JSONs, and how to use structs to parse data from JSON and to JSON. And if time allows, we can take a look into how to use templates to render a simple web page. Or yes, so Go has a pretty good standard library to handle the HTTP server, and this is what we're going to use today. There are many frameworks, but a lot of them are actually using the standard library. So it's always good to know the basics before you start using any popular frameworks, which basically handles a lot of stuff for you, like routing, error handling, data binding, and various middleware. So let's jump straight into the code. So to basically get you the first response, we need to define a router. So we'll use the HTTP library. Let me just import it, and then we can bind a function to this. Yes, so the Copilot will help us today a lot. So so we can do this, set header to text, and this is our first handler. And what we need to do now is just to start the server and listen. What's this? Oh, yeah. And one more thing. We will print time. Just to know that when the server restarts, I'm going to use a utility called wgo, which will do a live reload on code save, which is handy in these cases. So all right, so we have our first server set up. This is the minimal code. So let's start here. Main Go. Okay. Seems like it's running. We have the root set to the slash. So if I do curl localhost 8080, we should get a hello world, which we did. Okay. So this is the basic handler function, which will just return us this. You can write it inline with an anonymous method here, or we can do following. We can define handle hello world. Each function needs to have a text signature because it uses the interface of HTTP handler. So we need to stick to it. We don't need HTTP request. We won't use it now. And yes, so that's what we need. And we can replace this function with the handler with the handle function we just created like this. So save it, and we move the endpoint to the hello. So the default one will give you now the 404, but the hello will give you this. By default, the handler will serve all the methods. So if I do if I change the request to post, it will work as well. With the defaults, with a new sort of max, you can now also just limit the handler to a specific function. So now it will give us back the method not allowed. But if we just change it back to default, just get, it will, it will just work again. So that's the very basic stuff around the handling, the simpler requests. Now, this is how you basically listen and serve. It's the main method of the HTTP server to actually start listening, and it takes the address and a handler. In Go, you can chain the handlers together. So let's implement now the simple login handler, in which we will basically just log all the incoming requests. So what we will do is basically, yes, this. I'll explain. So in this login handler, we return a simple handle function, which does nothing else than it just records the time and serves the next request, which in our case will be the hello here. And then it says it's processed. It will basically measure the time it took to process the request. And to use it, we can chain it here. So we will do, what's it called, login handler. And we pass the existing looks into it. Let's see. So I'll send a hello again. Yes, so you can see that the request is being processed. You can log more things. So let's say we can do URI. Yes, so you can see that. Oh, the formatting is quite a. Oh. Nice, that's better. So you can see the incoming requests, how long it took, and what we are looking at. Okay, so now let's look into something more interesting, and that's how to actually send some JSON. So let's create a handler which will return some JSON with the person details. So handle JSON. So first we will create a map with the following signature. So some data will be make string interface. So basically this will be a map which has a string key and any type. We can replace this with any actually. It might be easier to read. And then we can fill, yeah, exactly. Let's use Copilot again to give us some, all right, why not? So now when you have a data like this in a map, you need to marshal them to JSON. And for that, we have a quite good JSON library here. So what we will do is use it. So do a JSON. Which one? JSON. And marshal the JSON data. And this one actually returns error as well. So it will give you back a byte, the array of bytes and error, which is exactly what we want. So we check the error. This is probably the easiest way just to indicate that there's something wrong. And stop the request. You always need to return when something is wrong during processing of the request. Otherwise, it would continue to process whatever is after it. So, and then we just write into the response writer our JSON. So, yeah. So now we need to add a handler. JSON. Okay, that will work. So now when I do a curl on our JSON endpoint, it will give us back exactly what we want. So that's how you can return a JSON from a Go map. Next thing would be because in Go, usually you represent something like objects using structs, right? So so instead of using a map, let's define a struct. So let's start like this. We will create a person struct with the, let's say, name fields, age field, address field, and that's going to be enough for now. So now we will need to create let's put mark here, another handle function, which will be handle person. And we'll get person JSON. All right. Oh, not yet. It's spoiling it. Okay, so first we will create a person, struct instance here. Yeah, just some boilerplate code. Now, what we need to do, yeah, we set a content type to application JSON, and we will marshal the person into the JSON. Handle the error like before, and then we can just write the person. What happens here is basically the JSON marshaller, if it takes any kind of a it takes any basically the default interface, so you can put any data into it, and it will try to marshal it into a JSON, and then we will just write it into the response writer. So let's add get person. Okay, so we need to define the route again, and then we should be able to get a person. And yes, you can see the person is here. Now, in Go, there's a thing called struct tags, which when the JSON marshaller is looking to struct, we can tell it actually what will be the field names into the type we are translating it into. So if we don't want to, let's say, have an uppercase here in the field names, what we can do is basically add the struct tags like this. So backtick, type, and yeah, and the name of the field. So now when I do the request on a person, you can see it's now a lowercase. You can even change the signature completely. So I'll change it to SN, and yeah, you can see now we have the person. So this is how we marshal this, the instance of a struct into JSON. Now let's try it the other way. So let's create a new method called, and we'll, let's say, create person. Now we will need a request because we will need to read the body of the request. So yes, so we will use a decoder. We'll use a JSON decoder to decode the body content and try to parse it into the struct. So first we will create an instance of a person. Wait, so fast. Sorry. We'll create an instance of a person. Then we will create a JSON decoder and decode the incoming body into the person. Handle the error. And then what we can do is just print the person detail. You can save it, yeah, you can save it to DB, you can do whatever processing you want, but for us, it's just do a print and save the person. So yeah, need to bind it, and we can do exactly this. So we will bind it to handle create person on a post request to the person. So now when I do curl post with data and age would be 20. What else we did have there was address here. And oh, did we lock the person? Yes. So here you can see the request was processed, and we have our new person, John Deere, age 20, with the address 123. So this is how you can marshal incoming JSON into this struct actually. So we have a error handling here. So what happens if I, for example, use a wrong type that should produce an error? Let's put instead of an int, let's put a string here, and this is what you get. It will complain that it can't actually marshal string into the int. So you need to provide a correct data type. So this is for the basic handling of a incoming request and how to do some simple JSON stuff with Go. As you can see, it's quite readable. The only problem with the standard library in Go is that you actually need to do a lot of error handling by yourself. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it for some people it might be just do distracting or something, and that's why a lot of the existing frameworks actually do that for you, or they handle the errors in a single place and then log them and return some meaningful error messages, so you don't have it all over the place. Like here, you can see that in each handler, we actually have the same error handling. But that's for another time. So all right, so that was the start content. How much time do we have? 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look into how to render a simple web page with Go using a template. So first thing we need to do is create a template file, the HTML template file. So we'll create a, say, index template HTML. Start with the snippet, call it hello template. Read this body, sorry. And let's reuse the person. So let's do one hello. Now for the Golang HTML templates, you do double quotes like this, and then the name of the field from the struct you pass in. You can pass a string. Inside, you would just use the dot, but when you pass the struct, you need to use the name of the field. And yeah, let's do p u r like this. So this is the basic template for us now. So let's create a new method to handle this template. Fine. Handle base template. And request. So for this, we will need to use the HTML template library, also coming from a standard library. And what we're going to do, we're basically load the template. There was a load file. Let me remember. It was parse file. And this will be relative to the folder we are starting it from, so we can just use the name HTML. And we will need to handle error in case the template is not here. Let's just do the usual. And then into this template, we will need to, let's create a person. Again, let Copilot give us some standard John Doe data. All right. And now we can just we can execute the template. So first we need to give it a writer, which is the HTTP response writer, and then the data, which is any. So we can just put our person there, and that should be it. Now let's bind this to new get template. Okay, that should be nice. Okay, so if I open the browser, I go to localhost. Here's our first template rendered as a web page. So these are the Go templates. It's not only the HTML, but they have the templates for lots of other file types like JSON, XML, and so on and so on, or the text template and so on. Previously, we tried to use the basic templates to actually create one dashboard application in Ping, but more and more we kind of realized it became really hard to maintain it. So do we still have 5 minutes? I guess we do. So I will try to show you what we've chosen, which is Temple. It's a library where you can build a HTML with Go. It has its own syntax, but it gets compiled to the plain Go code. But you need an external utility for that. So you can install it. You can write your components, and it will get compiled into the Go, and which it can render. And it's pretty fast, actually. So let's try to create a simple landing page with Temple. So for that, I will stop the server because we will need to generate the data. One thing we will need to do before is move the person into its own package, so we don't run into the import cycle. So let's create a say data person Go. So we package data, and we can then just copy over the user or the person. Okay, so now we have a person here, and we can create a new folder. Let's call it main temple. All right. So in this temple, we will create. So it starts like this. You need to let me verify it. It was temple. Hello. So we will do temple main page. No data yet, and just render the basics. Okay, let's verify it's working. So oh yeah. Sorry, I've changed it. We will need to modify all the persons here. All right, should be fine. Okay. As usually, let's just write the simple handler to render us some temple file. So we won't be using this now, but oh, I forgot one thing actually. So when we have this, it's for temple, but to actually use this template, you need to in your folder, you need to run temple generate. What it does, it basically generates a Go code in this package. You can see it is generated code with the content of the temple. I'll explain later why this is actually really good. So let's just render the page. So we do. We need to import the web one. It's this one main page render. What is it? Oh yeah, it needs a context actually, and then what we wanna and writer. Let's add the next handle fun. Let's get and on the root actually this time. Okay, so now I can run the main Go, and let's see, just localhost, and this is our page now. Now the upside of the template is you can actually write like a Go. You can write it with the Go code syntax inside the HTML as well. So in here, I can actually import our data. I can actually use the types I defined, so it will be P as a data person, and now I can do the code here. So I will do P hello and P dot. Yes, so the auto-completion now works here as well, so I can do this. And I can also use the stuff like if, yeah, exactly. This page is, oh, this is a good one. Page is more, have a drink, don't drink, and render based on this. So now again, I need to, the downside is you need to run the Go template generate every time, or you can actually use watch, which will watch the files, and on every save it will regenerate the Go. This one is a bit tricky because sometimes the LSPs in Vim or VS Code are slow to catch up on the changes. So it's really one downside I can think of. So we what's wrong? Oh yes. So now let's go back to our code, and we actually need to parse the argument here. So first, let's generate a person quickly. And yes, that's it. And just put the person as an argument into our function. Okay, should be fine. Still not. Oh, it's running. It's what I mentioned. The LSP is slow to catch up, actually. So yes, hello, John Doe, have a drink. So what happened? It got parsed into this and just processed. Then it got rendered. So that's it actually for the basics of creating handling JSONs and responses with Go and handling some very basic web pages.